Welcome to the West Business Center. My name is Kelly Geiser. I'm the program manager here at West, hosting today's webinar, EIDL Repayments. West is a nonprofit funded by the federal SBA, the Small Business Administration Program. We are both a women's business center and a small business development center for Mendocino and Lake County. Through federal and state agencies matched with local community contributions, it is your tax dollars that allow us to provide our services to you for free. These services include one-on-one counseling, webinars, loan package readiness, and advising the small business owners and entrepreneurs at every stage of business development. We also have a pool of expert advisors that cover niche business needs from permitting to HR and e-commerce. If you'd like to learn more about becoming a West client, please visit our website or give our office a call. And just a quick disclaimer that today's webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. You can read this in more detail on our website. And without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Joe Rodola, who will take you today through the EIDL repayments.
Thank you so much. Wonderful intro as always. It is afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Joe Rodola here. I'm actually coming to you live from the Small Business Development Center up in Redding, California. We're the Shasta Cascade Group up here covering Shasta and Trinity County. Small business development centers, and women's business centers are available to cover all counties, cities, states in the union, and Puerto Rico. How about that? So there's always somebody like us available to help you with your small business needs. As you can see here, I got a bunch of years in the credit industry. Was a banker for 25. Operated and ran a little consumer credit counseling service office to help people pay off credit cards. I've been a small business owner myself for the last 11 years, and I've been doing this for about 9 years, helping as an advisor for small businesses. Nice to know I learned something in my prior life. Well, today we're going to go into something that is just becoming really needed. For months and months and months now, the Economic Impact Development Loan, EIDL as it's known, the EIDL, has been sitting there. We got the money months and months ago. Well, guess what? It's now time to start making payments. These payments are allowed at any time. Maybe some of you have already started your payments. I know of several people that really started their payments maybe 6-8 months ago. But now they're going to happen because you're going to get a warning email in your email saying your first payment's due X date, okay? With a minimum payment requirement of whatever. So with that in mind, you're going to have to go through some steps to gain access to not only your account information, but to set up your automatic pay. These particular payments must be made by automatic deduction from somewhere. And so 2 websites we're going to walk through today to help you do that. And obviously there were some tricks that came up when we went through the first couple of people that we're going to be able to pass on to you so that you won't make the same errors, mistakes, and omissions that many of us did the first time that we did it. So obviously we did the introduction. We're going to cover what information you need before you sit down at your computer. What websites do you need to access the information, how to sign in and create an account, how to make a payment, and obviously how to ask questions. At the end, and again, you're going to receive a copy of this, so don't worry about it, okay? We're taping it. You're going to get a copy of the slides, and you're going to have availability to us. If after seeing this, you're still not quite sure, or you get caught in the middle, guess what you can do? You can make an appointment to see one of us in our specific areas, and we'll help you walk through the sign-in process live. Not a problem. We can do that also, okay? Okay, so what information do you need before you start? It's better to accumulate as much of this information as you can prior to sitting down at your computer. And then people say, well, why is that important? Well, there's actually a timing issue on this first website we're going to talk about. If you spend too much time in the various answering of the various boxes on the site, it can eventually time you out. They get concerned about people. I don't know what they're concerned about. We were mentioning earlier today, shoot, if somebody wants to go in and find out how to make payments on my loan, go for it. But suffice it to say, they put a bunch of checks and balances on this thing so that people cannot get into your information. Guess what? It also makes it tough for us to get into your information as well, your own information. All right, so what do you need to get together before you sit down at the computer? You need the loan number from the loan itself. And there are two numbers that have been bantered around over the months. There's the application number, which would have been the number you had when you originally applied for the EIDL, and the loan number on the actual loan itself when the loan was funded into your checking account. You want that number. You want the loan number. So hopefully you went ahead and printed that loan number, or it should be on the email you get from SBA with the warning saying your payment's going to be due in the next 30 days. Please make sure you've signed up to make the payments. So you need the loan number. You need the email address you used when you applied for the loan. Most cases, it's your main email address, right? You probably haven't changed it. So typically it'll be your regular email address, okay? If you're a sole proprietorship, you need your social security number, okay? If you're an LLC, a corporation, you need your tax ID or EIN, okay? And your social security number, so have them both ready. Be prepared to create a user ID, okay? Because as you know, when you go into websites or you go into financial banks, credit card companies, you normally have a user ID, which could technically, I suppose, be an email address. And then in the case of all the things you sign up for, you've got a password. Here's the big difference on this one. Most passwords on most different types of accounts are 8 digits minimum. This one's 16. So there's your first main glitch, is you have to come up with a 16-digit password, okay, to accommodate getting into this account. So this will be the first time in many cases that many of you will have a long 16-digit password. We'll make sure you write it down, okay? So that's a real big catch. The other catch, reminder we had this morning is that once you go into this website and you sign up and you get into your balance where it shows you the balance of your account and all the information, gives you a statement. You have to go in every quarter, minimum every quarter, to keep the account active and not go stale or cold. Once it goes cold, if you have more than 90 days of going into your account, it'll freeze or lock, and you'll have to start a whole new password. So again, just be knowledgeable of the fact that you have to go into this thing once a quarter or once every 3 months. So where do we start? Well, there's the website right there, okay? There's the website right there. What it is you're going to create a account with SBA that'll allow you to go in, as I mentioned, and pull your actual statements on your loans. By the way, when you get into this a particular area of their website, it'll show any loans you had during COVID, and if you have regular SBA loans as well. So let's say you have a regular SBA loan with the bank, 7A loan for equipment. That'll show up on this list. If you had a paycheck protection loan, PPP, during COVID, and it was released or paid off because you did everything correctly, that'll still show up on here as paid. Okay. So you'll be looking for the EIDL disaster loan on your choice, and it'll have a loan number, and you'll be able to pick that choice and get your statement. So here's where you start. Okay. And it says here to, let's see, where is it? Here you go. View loan balance and payment due dates. Okay, so you go to this, hopefully everybody can see my arrow here. It says SBA Capital Access Financial System. This is otherwise known as a wonderful acronym, CAFS. CAFS, okay? SBA Capital Access Financial System. So you hit this button, this highlighted blue area here, and it takes you to the sign-in page. So this will be the page that comes up when you go to the next step and hit that blue highlighted area. It's called the SBA account login page. Now, when you first go in here, you don't have an account yet, do you? So what you'll do is hit not enrolled ? This first blue little sentence here with the question mark, not enrolled ? Because you don't have an ID number yet, and you don't have a password yet, do you? Okay. So you go in there and hit that button, not enrolled, and it takes you into the sign up page. All right. This is where your timing begins. So this is where your timing begins. First of all, you will pick a user ID. Okay, user ID. This highlighted light blue area here to the right of the box gives you a description of what you need to put in there. Okay, you can put an email address, you could put some highlighted words that you care about, whatever it's going to be. The next two boxes is password and re-enter password. So you're going to have to enter this password twice. Okay. If you have questions on what is required, I believe you have to have one capital letter minimum. The rest can be letters, alpha letters. You'll need at least one or two numbers. Okay. And there are certain symbols you can use, but you don't need symbols on this one. So that's kind of nice. So you don't need to have the $ sign or the pound sign or the % sign as part of your password if you don't want to. All right. So you'll pick that 16-digit minimum password, write it down on a piece of paper along with your user ID or however you track your user IDs and passwords, because we have hundreds of them now probably. And you put the password in twice. Okay, 2 times. You then go down to this next box, identify information. There's a dark blue box that says kind of, who are you? Okay, user type. This is an autofill. So you hit the button and you're going to be called the borrower. You're the one who borrowed the funds. So you're going to be listed under the, and you'll put in that dark blue box, the borrower, okay? First name that was listed on the loan, okay? Personal first name, in my case would be Joseph. I go by Joe, right? Joseph is only when I'm in trouble. Well, when my mom used to call Joseph, but you got to put the name of your loan was given in. So if it's Andrew, not Andy, you get the idea. And your last name has to be in there. That's the last name of the person who received the loan when the loan was given. Okay. Country code. We're in the United States. So kick in United States, and then you kick in your zip code. Okay, your zip code. If you have a nice high-speed internet connection, after you hit the zip code, it'll automatically fill in the city and state code. It should. Otherwise, you can do the drop down, you can go in and you can type it. But normally, once you put the zip code in, It'll autofill city, state. Okay. Address that you gave them originally for the loan. If you used your business address because you have a retail store, business address goes in there. If you used your home address for a service business operated out of your home, you put your home address there. Okay. That's easy so far. Now we get down to these last two sections here. There's a fax number, mobile number, and landline number. Okay. Excuse me. You'll notice here that besides the area code, they have a country code box. All right. The one, don't take that one out of there because everybody says, well, country, that should be USA. No, don't worry about typing the name in there. The number one indicates that you're in the US. Okay. So leave the ones in there in the front. You only have to put in your landline number and your mobile number, and they can be the same. In the case of most people who operate just off their cell phone, those numbers can match. That's not a problem. Okay. Not a problem at all. So that gets you through the tricky parts of this first section. So then you go down, okay, I kind of overlapped here, but so you got, there's your phone numbers here, your phone numbers. Don't worry if you don't have a fax. Email address and email address re-entered. And that's the email address that either is the one you used originally or the one you want to be communicated to in the future. If you received an SBA email reminding you to do this, use that email. Okay, use that email because that'll stay congruent. You won't have to worry about it going anywhere else. Okay. Now you got the security question boxes. And guess what? It shows one here, but you're going to end up having to do three. And it's the classic security questions. Where were you born? Where'd you go to school? What's your favorite color? You know, whatever. There's going to be a list of things you can choose. You have to pick three and individually answer each of the three. Write your answers down on the page so that you know what they are. Okay? As you use different computers to get into the system, they use these ID questions to verify it's you doing it. Okay. Not every website protection has this built-in three questions. So think about it before you go in. Always nice to have the knowledge of what those three questions are you're going to use. Okay. So once you're done filling in the three questions and the three answers, you got this final box here, verify with the CAPTCHA image. So it's the lowercase f, capital G, a 7, capital B, lowercase f. It's case sensitive. So as you read that, put them in either, capital or lowercase and the numbers in that order, And then you're going to cross your fingers, and you're going to hit the submit button. Okay. If there's something wrong or it does not like your original ID number, we had a case of that. Somebody used an ID number that was already taken. Gentleman I helped yesterday, they used their user ID and it said, nope, got to pick another one. That user ID is already used. Okay. So he went back and added something to it. But suffice it to say, if there's an error, it'll pop up in red at the top and it'll take you right to the top of that page. Okay. Then you get a little nervous, right? Because you're going, oh my goodness, this is a timed page. You don't want to take a lot of time. Okay. So it's easier, in my opinion, to go back before you hit the submit button, go to the top of the page, slide it up, and make sure you got all these asterisk. See that, for instance, that 2nd Street address, you'll notice is not highlighted. You don't need it. You don't need it. Okay. Fax number, you don't need it. Okay. But you need your landline, you need your cell phone, even if it's the same. Okay. You need the one street address, which is the street address you used originally. You need all 3 security questions with answers. Okay. And the phone numbers have to be with the 1 in the beginning for the country code. So you put that little, verification number in the little box, hit submit. If everything's perfect, here it kind of explains it for you. Hit the submit button at the bottom of the page. If there's an error, it will show at the top of the page. It'll show in red. Country code 1 on all phone numbers. That's one catch. 16-digit password or phrase. That's another catch. Now, if you happen to use in most of your other passwords the pound sign as a character, guess what? This does not allow you to use the pound sign. That's something great, huh? So some of them, when they require a symbol, we'll add the pound sign to it. Well, won't take a pound sign. Learn that by trial and error, by the way. So the list of what symbols you can use is right next to your password box on that last page. Okay. And many times, especially the first time, you're going to need dual authentication. So what does that mean? Once you hit the submit button and everything's cool, okay, it takes you to a screen that says, believe me, this is Fort Knox, okay? You might as well have the gold reserve on this. It's going to take you to a we'll text you or send you an email and then put the code we send you in the next box. Great, huh? I don't know if that happens every time once your computer is accepted, but it definitely does the first time. So have your cell phone ready if you want them to text you, right? Or your email open so that when they send you the email, it'll have your 5, 6, 7-digit code. Put it in that box and it should take you to this. First of all, any questions? I see some things showing up.
Yeah, Joe, there's a question on how or where can you look at your balance and amortization?
Ah, good. Vicki, you jumped the gun. How about that? You should be my shill here. Here's how it happens. Right after you hit the submit, if everything's cool, it takes you to your amortization page. It's exactly. This is how you know you're successful. Okay. It'll take you to the list of potential SBA loans you'll have. Many of us only have the one, the EIDL, right? The economic disaster loan. So if it's accepted all your codes and your 3 questions and your authentication thing went to your text and you put it in there, takes you right to this page. It'll have the loan number. It'll have the loan status, okay, which will be in the most case of everybody, it'll be dispersed current. The date the loan originated, when you got the money, okay? The maturity date, which is 30 years later. 30 years later. So in this case, I think this one was like, what is it, 11/10 or 11/9 of 20. So the expiration date is 11/12 of 2050. It's a 30-year loan, right? That's what makes the payments so low. In this particular case, the principal balance is 14,000 and something. Total undispersed should show 0. That means you got all your money. It'll show your daily interest rate or daily amount that's added to your account every day based on a 3.75 interest rate, which all for-profit businesses, that's the interest rate for us all, 3.75 on these. So it shows you how much interest is added by the day. It'll show you how much interest has accrued since you received the money. Because remember, we haven't made payments on these things, have we? Well, they still charged interest. It still got tacked on. So technically the majority of us, if you only got like 14,000, whatever to begin with, at the bottom payoff balance is now 14.9 because they've added all that interest for the last 30 months, two years, whatever it's been. They've added all that interest to the balance. They're not going to lose any money, are they? No, government never does. So that you can print this out. I'm an old guy. I like to have paper. So, you know, if you're going to have that, it's got a little print box over here. Top of the page, hit the printer box, gives you a nice printable statement. Then the bottom of the page will say, next installment due date. Okay. And that'll tell you when your loan payment first one is due. Okay. In this case, it is due next year on this particular loan. Since it was received later, the first due date is later. I think it's May 12th. So the first payment on this loan is not due till May 12th of 23. And the payment amount is $82 a month, minimum. So now you know a lot of things, don't you? First of all, you know you're in the system, and you know you're in the system correctly. Okay. You know when you got the money, when the last payment will be due, how much you owed and how much you got. The interest rate, 3.75%. And the first due date for the payment and the minimum payment due. Okay. Now, this is just like, you know, pulling up a statement for your checking account on your bank, you know, your home banking, right? So this is basically your statement of the loan. Okay. This is not to make a payment. As I told you yesterday, there's 2 websites. Isn't that lovely? So this is the first one. You've signed up, you can get your balance, you can check it anytime you want. And it doesn't matter how many times you go in, you just got to go in once a quarter for sure. Once a quarter for sure. I like to say it's probably good. I would probably do it to pull it monthly. Just set it up on your calendar to pull your statement monthly. Because they're not going to mail it to you, right? It's like your banks. None of the banks like to mail statements to us anymore, do they? Credit card companies, they want to do it all online. So you want a paper copy, or you want to put this as a PDF onto your folder in your computer, go here, download it as a PDF, go here, print it, put it in your file, whatever you want to do. That way you'll know the payments are posting. See what I mean? You'll also tell, obviously, if it's posting, because your checkbook, your checking account will be debited for it. They'll pull the money out of the account, right? On the date you pick. Okay. So that's your statement, your balance, and to be able to pull up all the pertinent data. So now where do you go to make a payment? Aha! Here you go. It's the other website you need in your arsenal. It's called pay.gov. Pay.gov. And you'll notice on the main page here, a couple ways you can go, obviously. There's a message alert here. Click here to make a payment on your loan. That's an option. But basically, if you're just starting out, it says here in the middle on this main box, like here's repaying Social Security overpayment back. Here's making a VA medical care payment. Former military is here. Apply for IRS 1023 easy. Pay an overdue debt. But this is the one you're going to want. Make a SBA 1201 borrower payment. Okay. Because that's what we all are that have EIDL loans. We are 1201 borrowers from the federal government. This is a federal government loan, okay, authorized by the president and ran by SBA, Small Business Administration. So you hit that button, pay it right here, it says, boom. Okay, what are you going to need for this? You're going to need the loan number again. You're going to need the payment amount you want to pay. And again, you don't have to put the minimum. You can put anything from the minimum up per month. Due date or payment date. Okay, you can make it early. If you want to make it early, 3 or 4 days before the due date, fine with them. It don't matter. Just don't make it later than the due date. The bank account number and your ACH. So their bank account number is the account number for your checking account. Okay. The ACH is going to be the bank's ABA number. It's otherwise known as American Banking Association number, or ABA. For the bank I bank with, it's 121-000-358. That tells everybody in the world that this account is located at Bank of America. Okay, that's Bank of America's ACH ABA number. And your bank will have one too. It's normally to the left of your, at the bottom of the check, to the left of your account number, which is normally centered in the bottom middle of your check is your account number. Okay. You can also pay it by putting in your debit card number or through PayPal. Those of you who have PayPal accounts. Okay. So you have several options here: debit card, PayPal, ACH through your checking account number. Okay, and here is what the form looks like. When you hit the 1201 button on pay.gov, takes you to another payment form. Isn't this lovely? So you gotta do it again. Borrower name, type in your full name. Okay, so it'd be Joseph Rodola for me. You see the little red asterisks here, those must be filled in. That's the red must be filled in. If there's no red, like address number 2, that you don't need it. Okay, so borrower's name, address of where, you got the loan, where you get paper statements if they needed to send them to you. City, state, zip code. So far, so good. SBA loan number, the loan number goes right in that box. Okay, most of them start right now, I think most of them with 92 or 9. A lot of them start with 9. And it's about, I don't know, 10 digits, 8, 9, 10 digits long, your loan number. So put that in there and put in the payment amount you want to pay. Okay, so if it's $100 a month, long as it's the minimum payment or more, like on the last sample was the minimum payment was 82. So if I wanted to pay 85, I could put 85 in here. Okay, or 82 in there. Okay, and then you hit enter. Okay, and that just takes you to the account information page, which I do not have on here. So the account information page will be where you put the ABA number, the account number of your checking account, your debit card number if you want it to come out of your debit card. If you're out of your PayPal account, give them the PayPal number and so forth and so on. They'll ask you where it wants to come out of. That's on the bottom of the page or the next page. Hit submit. And then they'll give you a page that you check to see if everything's correct. So in other words, they'll give you a relook page before you hit the final button. Because if you put in here to pay off the whole loan, say you want to pay $10,000 or something, they'll take 10 grand out on the date you pick. So make sure that you don't put more in there than you want. Okay, and at least the minimum payment. Okay, you'll also then have a choice on that next page of whether you want to make a one-time payment, which means you'll have to do this every month, or an ongoing payment. Haha. Most of us would probably want to do an ongoing payment. That way, you know that the payment's automatically going to come out on this date. It's 2 days before the due date of the actual loan itself. If it doesn't come out on your list on the correct date, you know that something's gone haywire. You got to check it out, right? Because you don't want to fall behind to the feds. This is one of the problems, unfortunately, we're already starting to face is people got these loans for their business and they got it 2 years ago. And even with this loan, the business didn't make it. Okay. Well, guess what? As far as we know, as of this date at 1:40 p.m. on December 7th, by the way, it's a day that will live in infamy, Pearl Harbor Day, is that these loans cannot be bankrupt away from, and they cannot currently be forgiven in any way. Now, that doesn't mean that might change someday. Keep your eyes and ears peeled, okay? But these loans cannot be forgiven, and you cannot bankrupt out of it because it's a federal debt, just like the IRS.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I
saw a hand go up.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm 75. I have an event business, but I've just sold it. The money did keep me alive because I had it sold before the pandemic, but they backed off, thank God. They never would, they would have taken all my things away and not been able to pay me because there were no events. And so on the January 1st, I'm gonna turn my company over to the new owner, but this debt is still mine. And I would like to pay it off. I mean, the chances that I die at 75 before 30 years is up are pretty great.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to pay it off.
No problem.
Just right off the top. And so with that one-time payment company, I mean, possibility,
Yeah.
I can just make like 3 or 4 large payments over the next few months.
You can.
And have that gone.
Exactly. There's no prepayment penalty on these loans. They can be paid off in any portion or all at once, anytime you wish.
And when I make a big payment, am I going to get a bill for that $82 the next month?
If it's not paid in full, that'll be the bill you'll get for the next month. Yes. If your minimum payment was $80, you'd see an $80 payment due for the next month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they'll be taking automatic payments in between my larger balloon payments.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah, very welcome. Good questions, by the way. Yeah, these are paid off or can be paid off at any time. No prepayment penalties, partial payments, lump payments, full payments. Just know that the next month, your minimum payment, whatever that minimum payment was, if there's a balance left, you know, even if there was $100 left and you paid everything off but the 100 and you had an $80 minimum payment, that $80 payment would be due. Yeah, good question. Fabulous. Yeah,
I want to say that I'm really grateful for this loan.
Cool. Thank you.
I think this loan totally saved many of us.
It did. It really did.
And I think that, you know, it was so, when you think of how much the government, how many of us there were, all those different forms of aid. I mean, I was amazed at actually what a good job everybody did.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough for many of us.
Yeah. It got a lot of people through.
Yeah.
It really did. Took
And
them a while to get the
they
thing
knew
to
just
work.
how much, they knew just how much it would take to get us through too.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
That's true.
Interesting.
There is also another thought that came up, and it's obviously just a potential rumor, but they are already setting up in the SBA two potential thoughts down the road. a lot of it hinges on whether or not the federal government is going to be able to come through with forgiveness on the student loan thing they're trying to do. There's obviously some legal battles there going on that says maybe they don't have the power to do that, right? So there's a question. But what's going to potentially happen is I've been seeing, unfortunately, several businesses that have not been able to survive even with the assistance because of new reasons that COVID created havoc.
Yeah,
Prices, supply chain, nobody
Supply,
wants
yeah.
to work, right? Nobody, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of just things that have happened out of COVID that sort of are COVID related, but they're not, we're not still, you know, all masked up and hiding in our houses anymore. So anyway, some of these businesses have not made it. And so now they owe a debt on something that they've spent and no longer have the ability to even make money to hopefully or theoretically pay it back. So there's a lot of people that are seeing the potential, and obviously this is way early on, that somewhere down the road, there's going to be some kind of have to forgiveness on this thing too. So obviously don't hold our breath. Those of us that are of a certain age, like myself, I'm 70 myself, 30-year loan, I'd be 100. I don't think I'm going to make it if I have one of these till 100, who knows? But anyway, there's that. And if you get into a problem making a payment, in other words, you get hit by a truck or you have a heart attack, you're in a hospital for 6 months or whatever, and you have a hard time making these payments, there is an emergency phone line that I'm going to give you in a second that, and theoretically, you don't want to do this to the first payment, right? First payment, do at least make the first payment. But you're going to have an emergency hotline you can call to say, hey, I got hit by a truck. We had a, you know, I'm out of business for a while, you know, so there's theoretically some thought about and they're setting the department up already. SBA is already setting this department up. They know it's coming, okay? Because the first payments are due this month on these things. So they're already smart this time. They're kind of seeing the future. The future's going to be, there's still problems, especially if you're in the food service restaurant business. There's a big one, okay? And like you said, event planning businesses, holy smokes, those took a really big hit.
Huge.
Hairdressers, nail people, holy moly, you know, it was a mess. So anyway, so there's those things coming as well. So again, we covered what the information is needed, obviously the websites, how to sign in, create a payment, how to ask questions. All right, so here we go. This is your hotline phone number. You can write it down. I'd put it right there with the other information you have on the SBA. You have your code, your password, your 3 questions you got to answer, right, for security reasons, and this phone number. And obviously save the websites on your favorites. Right. But here's the phone number, 1-833-572-0502. That is the EIDL hotline phone number. Okay. And they're manning or personing that particular phone number. Can't say manning anymore, right? So they're putting people in place right there to start answering questions about the EIDL, because there's going to be some questions. The gentleman yesterday, that was really funny. I'm glad he came in when he did. A local businessman came in. He said, yeah, I got this notification. My first payment is due 12/8. And yesterday, of course, was 12/6, wasn't it? So 2 days he had left to do this. So we sat down on my computer and we input all his information. He copied down his codes and we set up the first payment for him to come out on the 7th, which was today. So he was so happy. And because he didn't want to be late on his first payment, right? So we got it done. I said, yeah, we should go have a beer, you know, because he made it by a day, by a day. Some of the first payments are due like right now. So anyway, here's your contact phone number for the SBA hotline. And remember, that there are many of us in our Women's Business Center and SBDC offices, especially if we're financial people like I am, that'll be willing that if you're in hot water and trouble and you just, you had a rough night yesterday and your payment's due this Friday or Monday, make an appointment, go in and see one of us. We've got practice now on these babies, let's put it that way. So we can get around some of this systems, and normally all of us have pretty good high-speed internet. We'll help you get signed in, okay? Because we don't want you late on that first payment. Any last questions here before we move? This doesn't normally last a full hour unless you have tons of questions, but.
Really quick, Joe, someone asked, they didn't get the option to set up recurring payments. How do you set it up if they didn't give you the option when they already made their first payment?
Yeah, it's a little, that's one of those little catches on that website, the pay.gov. When you go on the pay.gov and you go in to payment type, there are, I think, 3 light blue sentences that you can click on that page. One is make a payment now. Okay. One is set up reoccurring payment. It's on the right side of the page. You go, well, what is it doing over there? Don't ask me. That's where they put it, right? So it's on the right side of light blue letters. It'll say, set up reoccurring. And then the one below that is, if you have a problem making your next payment, press here. They just added that. So that's the one, I guess, that'll take you to SBA, somebody to talk to tell them what your situation is. See, tell them you got hit by a car or, whatever the reason is you can't make that next payment. But it's on the pay.gov website. When you get into the payment page, there's 3 light blue choices, and those just recently showed up on the page, okay? If you have any questions about that, also you can contact one of us in the various centers. We'll be happy to show you where that particular item is. It's difficult you have to go into the system and be a client to go in. In other words, I can't just do it as a sample. I wished I could. What I did was copy and paste off this with somebody that I'd actually done the work with to make what we saw on the screen.
On that note, there will be a link that was presented by the SBA yesterday, and they were able to show an interactive web page that will be sent in the follow-up email. So please keep an eye out for it. And if you give me a moment, I can even send the link into the chat for everyone.
Wow,
so
that'd be sweet.
Can I ask a quick question? I typed it.
Sure.
What happens if we're seniors also and we have an opportunity to sell the business at this point? If we have an offer on it, but we have the loan, the EIDL loan, and how would that transfer to the new buyers for them to take on the loan with the business because it has an income coming in? And how would we transfer the loan to them?
Yeah, there is, in fact, I kept a copy of the contact information because we've had several businesses being sold up here in Shasta County to existing, relatives, sons, daughters, and employees. And the question is, okay, how do we transfer the money that's already been used to keep this business going? The new business taking it over, technically, it's part of the agreement to sell. You'd have to do that as part of the agreement. And then how do you take it over? So there's a contact information, a phone number, and an email address. And I will see if I can I'll send it to you. And then you can attach it, okay?
Do you want me to type my
Let me see. Yeah, when you put the email in for
in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I want to definitely answer the webinar poll. This is very helpful, especially for folks like us. Let me see, where can I put the question answer one? No, or in the chat.
Both are acceptable.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me put it, I would say I'd rather put it in the question answer one, okay. Okay. I also want to share one more thing. Okay, so
I'm gonna have to dig that up now. I wished I knew.
email, yeah, or you can give me your number as well, and I will be glad to stay in touch with
Yeah,
you.
in fact, if you send it to my email, I can send it directly to you.
Mhm.
My email address, I'll put it in the
Wait.
chat.
Okay. Let me write it down. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat here.
Oh,
Joe
you,
Rodola,
okay.
host and panelist. I'm at Joe at NorCal SBDC.org.
Make sure you send it to everyone, Joe.
Hosts and panelists, you do it,
No,
right?
select to everyone. Oh, I will copy it.
Well, that
And
didn't
paste
work.
it for everyone. There you go.
Thanks.
Okay, where did this go? This was in the chat.
So in
Yeah, it's a
the link
webinar chat. Yeah, we put it,
yeah, so I put Joe's
Oh,
email
here
in
it
the
is.
chat,
Okay.
and then there's additionally the link to a live presentation done by the SBA yesterday. This link that I've sent sends you to a Microsoft Teams webinar recording, and do also watch out for answers in the chat box of that presentation. A lot of similar questions were brought up, and they've also answered in that recording. And don't worry, this link, today's handouts, today's recording will also be sent out to everyone today. So don't rush, don't worry. You will have Joe's email, you will have these slides and 2 versions of a recording. So
Thank you for that. So you're saying there's a place where you will send us where we would contact about how you transfer this loan to new buyers of the business?
yes.
As long as
Matter of
it's in
fact,
the
I'll make sure I also send it to,
part of the agreement. Okay.
yeah.
I also spoke to EIDL at one point, when we first got it, and because I'm an ex-banker myself, and so I asked a couple of questions, and one of the things they did say that, well, I need your input as well, because they do require, because I know about federal loans and what's really required, and you can't just get out of this or whatever. I think they're going to require tax returns to review like how you spend this money. It's for you to have kept alive in specifically we were advised that this is for marketing, to keep the business going so you can survive during these difficult pandemic years, and which was accurate. That is what is being utilized effectively to keep the business going, because if you're not communicating with your vendors or doing things or whatever's going on. But they also said that if you end up hitting a hardship, they could also recalculate the loan. That if it's, let's say, if you want to pay a portion back and leave a portion in and not hold on because you're making the payment on the entire amount. So they will work with you to recalculate the loan in order for you to have an easier time with whatever you did borrow. Let's say if you borrowed 10 grand and you say, I don't want to pay on the 10 grand because I've only used 5. It doesn't become recalculated when you make that big chunk of amounts toward it, because
Not normally.
you're still stuck with that payment, is
Correct.
what I'm saying. And if you're having a hard time making that payment, they need to find a way of you guys and all of us to be a voice for the Americans who went through this tough time, and we're still going through it with the recession being dangled in front of us as well, and the prices of oil and everything.
Really quick, I do want to interrupt that. The link I sent you to the presentation by the SBA yesterday, they did mention they will do free reamortizations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay.
That contact number and that department they're setting up is going to be important.
Oh my gosh, that was the best news I could have heard. Because I just had heart surgery 6 months ago, so I'm going through a tough time.
Yeah,
And
they say you call the SBA. In the presentation, they have a 1-800 number for the SBA, and you can talk to them to discuss reamortizing on your new balance.
Oh,
This is
that's relatively new information. That's right off the presses.
Yeah, that's right off the press yesterday.
That's
It was just
wonderful.
one of those tidbits I happened to hear while I was
Right.
double.
Yeah.
so this was yesterday's.
Doing double dips, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was busy with medical appointments yesterday. I didn't sign up for yesterday, so how
No,
would
yesterday was a separate presentation done by the SBA through the Santa Cruz Center, but I've put the link to the recording in the chat, and the recording will also be in the email that will be sent out to everyone who's registered for today's webinar.
you're gonna?
You'll be able to see that one too.
Yeah, I will send a full packet of information from today's webinar,
Oh,
from
thank
the
you.
recording
Thank
yesterday.
you so much.
Yeah,
Okay. 'Cause my-
unfortunately, there's
I
just not a
can't
great
type.
summary for all these questions. You will have to listen through the SBA presentation to make sure you get all the information. But of course, the SBA representative who presented yesterday did encourage everyone to please call the 1-800 number to address your specific needs and concerns. But that was a topic, and reamortization was addressed in that recording.
Yeah.
There was also another question I just spotted from, I think, a Vicky that said, if you're paying monthly, you already started making your payments, did all my payments go to interest and none to principal? These loans from the SBA for the EIDL are called simple interest loans. So as I mentioned, if you hadn't made a payment for the 30 months and you borrowed 10 grand, say to begin with, you now owe 10,500 or whatever the added interest is at the time. So it's simple interest. They've been adding it on. So each payment will go to principal plus interest based on your new balance every time you make a payment. So you are paying both interest and principal each time, but boy, did they grow for the last 30 months. Good news was it was only 3.75%, which is still the best interest rate around, especially now with the rising interest rates. How about that? So we ended up with one heck of a 3.75 loan for 30 years. You can't get any cheaper money.
Yeah.
I've been around when interest rates were 18. So, you know, yeah, it was ugly in the early 80s. So 3.75 is still a good deal.
Yeah, I had a mortgage payment of 15% back in the 80s. Crazy.
Yeah, remember that? Oh,
Yeah.
that was crazy. Jimmy Carter, the old Jimmy Carter days, poor Jimmy. Yeah, that was wild. So yeah, so it's principal plus interest and they add interest daily. And on that form, it tells you how much interest is added per day. If you're interested in knowing, like in that one, I think it was $1.50 or something, an interest per day being added to the current balance. So fascinating deal. Well, very good, guys. And there is, of course, the fill out the survey thing that she put out there. That was a good deal. And here, of course, is our Women's Business Center area coverages throughout the state of California. And our Northern California SBDC offices. Again, you'll have contacts with all of these as well. West Business Center, of course, is who's technically presenting this, even though I'm up north. So we all can help you. We are all in this together. And there's where they're located. They got an office in Fort Bragg, office in Ukiah. I used to live in Ukiah back in the day. One of those fun little notes. I spent 6 years living in Ukiah. Back in the day, I used to fish Lake Mendocino quite often. That's a nice little lake there right outside of town. Also lived in Lake County for 9 years. So I was in Clear Lake, Lakeport. So old stomping grounds. How about that? And
Well,
thank you.
we are right at 2 o'clock. So perfect timing, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
And have a
thank
great
you.
rest of the day.
Happy
All right.
holidays.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.